Anything from you?
Yeah, what this actually is, as Councilman Galvin said, is actually increasing the fines from a $250 first-time violation to a $1,000 per day. A repeat violation from $500 to actually $5,000 per day. And anytime you appear before the special magistrate and you're in violation, the fines will increase to $15,000 per violation.
For
Per day?
irreversible or
Yeah.
irreparable.
Per diem?
Per day.
15,000 per diem?
Per day.
Yeah, per day.
Just to mention, as Councilman Galvin says, unless we have some teeth in or to actually affect the violations or the violators, then it really wouldn't mean anything. $250 versus a $3,000 weekend rental or 1 week rental, it really doesn't mean. I would prefer to pay the fine, the $250 fine. Just to keep in mind, Miami Beach has also done theirs and adopted it to $1,000, $5,000 and $10,000, not 15. Coral Gables has $500 for the first-time offenders or first-time violation and $5,000. Presently, I believe tonight Broward County is also listening to this same item, and their fees are $1,000 for the first offender and $5,000 for the repeat. So as we speak, I think Broward County is listening to the same item on this, and they're actually requesting or putting in the same number of fines or the same numerical value for fines.
Mr. Mayor, if I might, just for council edification, I want to emphasize what Aleem just said, city manager just said. Right now, people are charging multiple thousands of dollars per weekend for these short-term rentals. If they happen to get caught, we nip them for $250. They laugh at us and go, $250? Sure, because I'm making $5,000 this weekend, $5,000 next weekend, $5,000 the weekend after that. They don't care. So by increasing our penalties, when we are able to finally prove that they're doing it, we can finally hit them for something that's going to hurt them in the pocketbook, and that's the only way you really are going to stop these things.
Okay. Major, you have something to say?
No, just what the manager stated with the other cities and county, and also for the audience to know that this is for notice cases. And a notice case is different than a ticket case. A ticket case is if you leave your garbage cans out, dog without a leash, something like that is a one-time violation that we usually can't go about and re-inspect. A notice case is when you get an official letter from the city and you're given anywhere between 10 and 20 days to fix the violation. Then you'll come in front of the special magistrate the first time. They'll hear the case. The special magistrate will then give you another 30 days to fix the violation. And then at the end of that point, the fines will start running. So at a minimum, you'd have 45 to 60 days to come into compliance on a notice case. So these are not for violations that would occur overnight, or you would not have overnight to fix these violations.
Public hearing is now open.
Hi, Karen DeLeon, 1935 South Hibiscus. So help me out here, because I know I've stood here before when there's been a woman standing over there who couldn't get her house painted, and she was really having a hard time. So is this poor woman who would end up going all the way to the special magistrate suddenly going to be looking at $15,000 fine? Is there somewhere in the language that this is specific notice, specific to the short-term rentals, that we're really not supposed to be writing short-term rentals? Just please help me out to know that we're not going to suddenly be hurting the poor old lady who's on, food stamps because she can't get her grass cut, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Can we address that now? So we
Yeah,
don't have-
actually, as Major Beige, I reflected in his comments, it's a civil ticket. Cutting the grass and stuff, it would not affect, or your actual fine would not be the 1,000 or 5,000. It's a one-time fee. There's no reoccurring or no interest rate adding on or daily violations to the fine. It's just a one-time fee. It's a civil violation. What we are talking about is cases that appear before the special magistrates, and those are the fines that we are alluding to.
So obviously the woman isn't having to repaint her house every.
Civil violation is
Okay, so give me just an idea of what other types of
Cutting your grass if-
violations could fall under this, as opposed, you know what I'm saying? Is there
Regina?
anything that we're not thinking of that we suddenly are penalizing the old lady on food stamps?
Right, so this increase in fee does not impact one type of violation. There's really no way for you to say, I want to pass a law that only impacts short-term rental violators. What you're doing is giving authority to the special magistrate to increase the fine to impose on potentially any violation that comes before him or her that meets certain criteria. Now, there are criteria, right? So any judge has to have some sort of a balancing act, that they have to consider the gravity of the violation. They have to consider any action taken by the violator to correct the violation. They have to consider any previous violation committed by the violator. And of course, the special magistrate has the authority to reduce the fine imposed. And then you have checks and balances with respect to the city manager, who has the authority to mitigate any fine imposed. So this is not a free-for-all so that folks can start becoming, getting fined excessive amounts, but there's just no way to say, I want to impose only this type of fine for this type of violation and not for that type of violation. There's just really no way to do that.
I think Mr. Leon is, excuse me, Mr. Mayor. I think Mr. Leon is asking for some specifics or examples of what type of fines are gonna go to the magistrate that
Work without a permit, for example. Construction, if you build something improperly in your backyard and it's
fascia board, dirty
improperly,
roof.
roofing issues, painting issues,
So,
you know, it runs the gamut of various types of code enforcement.
so when they
fine.
come out and they tell you that your roof is dirty because it needs steam cleaning and the person is sick and can't get to it, so basically they have 45 days or they can get a $1,000 fine for the first offense.
I mean, is it possible? It's possible. Is it practicable, reasonable for that to occur? Absolutely not.
No.
But, you know, you have to, there's no way for you to regulate, and there are some inconsequential damages to any law that you pass. There's gonna be some collateral damage. That's just the reality of it.
And the language says not to exceed 1,000, not to exceed 5,000. That means that a magistrate could certainly still keep a $250 fine in place. They just can't, that gives them more of a ceiling to move up to, and doesn't mean that we can't just charge. Right now, the ceiling is $250. The ceiling is $500.
$500, right.
No matter what we want to do, we can't go above those things. So this just
$500 per day.
$500 per day.
Per day.
So this raises our ceiling to 1,000 per day for the first violation, 5,000 per day on the second violation, etc. It doesn't mean that some old lady can't get cited and then there's only a $250 fine. And again, if our staff starts running around writing $1,000, magistrate starts writing $5,000 on the old ladies, we'll reverse this, we'll tinker it, we'll do something else. The option of not passing this tonight is doing nothing, again, until September, after the summer months have gone. And again, I can't tell you the number of emails and phone calls I'm getting on this item, and we're trying to find a way to
Correct.
address it without making the state of Florida absolutely void everything that we're doing right now. So,
Right. It's just to reiterate, I think, I believe, you know, the crime must match the punishment. Not painting your house, you know, the fines will go up to a certain amount. If there's any liens on the property, again, level-headedness and judgment. When it comes to even my office for even lien mitigation, when there's anything like that, you gotta use practical knowledge and sense, you know, versus a short-term rental. Does the punishment match the crime? So that's how it's going to be handled.
I want you to pass it, don't get me wrong.
Okay.
I just want to speak for the old lady and just make sure that
And
it's
a-
very
again,
specific,
this
up
is-
to,
Right.
up to.
As it is
So that-
right now,
language
if
says not to exceed
right,
1,000, not to
Okay.
exceed
Okay.
5,000.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm
we have to
good.
move forward.
Thank you.
correct.
Yeah.
Ron Rubin, 13155 Northeast 6th Avenue, and I'm going to speak for the old man, me. Okay, I got a notice of violation for, it was called that I need to repave and restripe and do this. The real issue is I had a pothole, okay? And, I mean, I fixed the pothole. The ordinance doesn't address you know, what it means to need to repave or what it means to need to restripe. Now, in my property, I mean, I'm cosmetically challenged, and I'll admit that, but life safety is not an issue. The stripes are easy to see. The numbers are easy to see. The potholes is fixed. Now, is this the type of thing that if the individual inspector, in that person's opinion, believes that paving is necessary or striping is necessary, and this then goes before the magistrate? But in my opinion, and I have pictures and it shows the stripes, but it's not, you know, bright yellow or bright white, then I'm subject to a large fine, is what I'm hearing. Would that be right? No.
Not
Okay.
really, no.
Not really. Okay. Okay.
And I could tell you, there are standards for striping, there are standards for pavement and pavement repairs. So those standards, again, if you don't meet the standards, and I believe that's why the building code addresses everything as life safety issues. If your
Okay.
your violation meets life safety issues, then you would be fined.
Okay. You I trust. Thank you.
Good evening, William Prevotel, 11950 North Bay Shore Drive. Congratulations and welcome. The intention of this, as I read it, is that this is well-intended, and that we're trying to improve on the city. I'm always a champion of that, making improvements to the city, making this a better place, safer, aesthetically more appealing, better maintained. And I believe that is the intention of this. But I have a feeling that for the 5 locations, single-family homes that are being mentioned, we're going to, you know, reinvent the wheel with the entire city. We constantly come out and say we're going to have North Miami is going to go forward and it's going to be a leader. We're going to invite business. They're going to go make progress. So we're going to bring money into the city and bring opportunity to the city. Yet for 5 homes, we're going to take away the opportunity for maybe 1,000 homes of people, particularly the people that need it, the old ladies and such, that particularly might need a little bit of income, who don't have 50 cars outside, who don't have 50 people outside. Is there a chance that maybe policing these 5 properties or so, or when something arises like that, that gets addressed with disturbing the peace, or you didn't get a party permit, or you have over-occupancy, or some other method, so you could actually target it to those troublesome locations, not the locations that are not troublesome. In addition to that,
Mr. Mayor, I have to jump in. Bill, this is not for 5 homes. This is not. This is for all the others who are illegally renting their homes. So I've got to clarify
well,
that.
but are they being problematic, or are they just
Yes.
helping to cover their mortgages?
No, no.
That's the thing. Okay, because
I'll
okay,
give you Bill Previtel's email address. Everybody who emails and phone calls me about a short-term rental in their neighborhood this weekend, Bill, this is not for the 5 that are grandfathered in. It's not for the 6 that are grandfathered in. This is for all the others who are illegally renting their home.
and are they a detriment to our community per se?
Yes.
Maybe. Okay.
They're
With
a
that in
threat.
mind, let me also say, when people pass by and they see these dilapidated homes and such, do they realize that maybe there's not an income or not a way of renovating these and making a remedy for this shortcoming? Are the people here aware that when we see and we hear about a roof collapsing, one of the multifamilies somewhere in the central part of the city, that do they also realize that you drive by and say, this is so bad, how come they don't replace this? Are you aware that sometimes that you could have an apartment building of 100 units and you can't replace it with 20 units because of the density and height? That you could have something 120, 140 feet high and you can't replace it because it's required to go 30 or 40 feet high? And that happens all throughout our city, where there's no chance of us renewing this aging housing stock, this dilapidated, deteriorating housing stock. And that should be really part of this equation, because if we keep on putting barriers to opportunities and the chance of doing things here, we need to really open up and look and to create these opportunities, because if we're going to keep on putting pressure, nobody's going to come here, there's going to be no opportunity, it becomes this downward slide that we keep on perpetuating. I'm saying there has to be some balance.
All right.
And it could be an old
Thank
lady
you.
that needs to get to rent an extra room to get some extra cash.
Okay, thank you very much.
Richard Anise, 13030 Northeast 10th Avenue. I didn't get up on the ordinance before because I thought you had it right the first time. I don't understand how, if you want to if you don't want to charge someone to get a license to rent their property, at least make an inspection, do due diligence, make sure it's proper before they rent it, and make sure that they're aware of when the garbage pickup is, when you put out trash, when you put out recycling, how often you have to cut your grass. And they're just not party homes in Keystone Point. There's a property right behind me that seems to only be active on the weekend with music going till 12 o'clock at night. I don't know if they live in another part of town, they just come over here for the weekend, or it's being rented, I'm not sure. The property south of me was taken back by the bank. They went in and did all kinds of work, and they put a rental sign out, but these people don't know they put trash out on Sunday, and they don't know what they're doing. If the code officer goes by and sees a rental sign, they should be able to go, and I spoke with Major Beige about this before, they should be able to go to that property, make sure it's got a proper lease, make sure that people know when to put the garbage out, make sure they know how many cars can be parked there, that they're not supposed to park on their grass, so they can park on the swale or in the driveway. Another property on the other side of me, across the street from me, was originally a two-family house. It was a single family in the front and an apartment in the back. And it took the guy a year to pass all of his, he had to go in and replace copper and everything and get proper inspections. And I thought they were going to live there. There was about 10 people. They own a Chinese restaurant down the street. Next thing I know, there's a for rent sign out, and they're just renting it as a triplex. So, and the same way, they're going to go over there. I spoke with Crystal the other day. They're going to go and Eric are going to go pay them a visit to make sure that how it's being rented and what's going on. There's nothing wrong with keeping it R1 through R4 and having an inspection. If you don't want to charge them for a license, give them a license to rent it, but just make sure that the rental is proper. That's all. You had meat in that ordinance and you took it away. You should have left it alone. There's nothing wrong with it. Thank you.
Public hearing is still open. Public hearing is now closed.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move approval on first reading of tab J.
Second.
Okay, so I have a motion on the floor by Councilman Galvin, seconded by Mayor Joseph. Roll call, Councilman Bieneme,
Yes.
Councilman Desilme,
Yes.
Mayor Joseph,
Yes.
Councilman Galvin,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Keys.
Yes.
Item passes 5-0. Tab K, proposed ordinance, first reading of the Mayor and City Council of the City of North Miami, Florida, amending Chapter 29 of the North Miami Code of Ordinance entitled Land Development Regulations by amending Article 4, Division 3, entitled Non-Residential Districts, specifically at Section 4-302, entitled Uses Permitted to Establish Retail Showroom Automobile as a Special Exception Use in the C-2BW zoning district to foster economic growth, and amending Article 7 at Section 7-101, entitled Definitions to provide for a definition of retail showroom automobile, as well as establishing clear regulations for said use, consistent with the intent of the North Miami Comprehensive Plan, providing for severability, codification, and effective date.
So Mayor, I'd like,
Who's coming, Tanya?
to present Tanya. I believe the applicant has a presentation.
I'll provide an overview while the applicant sets up. We have a request for a text amendment from applicant BRAC Holdings, Inc., and the request is to amend the request is to amend Article 4, Section 4-302, to establish retail showroom automobiles as a special exception use in the C2BW district, and also to provide a definition in Article 7 to define the use. I'll read the definition into the record. It says retail showroom automobile means a use, the principal use or purpose of which shall be the marketing and display of new automobiles, whether by sale, lease, or other commercial or financial means to the consumer from within an enclosed building and attendant parking structures. Said use, which shall be operated on site of at least 1 acre, may include, among other secondary supporting uses, an inventory of vehicles for sale or lease, and on-site facilities for the minor vehicle service of automobiles previously sold or leased by the retail automobile showroom, provided that the sale of automobiles previously sold or leased by the retail automobile showroom shall be subordinate to the principal use, and that no more than 15% of the gross building area assigned to the retail automobile showroom business shall be devoted to minor vehicle service. This proposed application has been reviewed by the Planning Commission, and they've recommended unanimous approval. We have the applicant here. We have Mr. Fernando Geddes that will provide an actual presentation for the mayor and council, and if the council has any questions, staff can provide that at the end of the presentation.
Good evening, council members and Mr. Mayor. Kevin Burns, 2065. I am representing the applicant, which is Volvo of North Miami, and also, as Tanya said, Fernando representing the group is here also. I would like to first welcome you all back and congratulate the newest re-elected members and new members of the City Council. I'm proud to looking forward to working with you all to, as the motto has now been, to moving North Miami forward. And it's very exciting. Why are we here tonight? We're here tonight for a text amendment. The zoning is in place that allows the sale of automobiles and the display of automobiles in this zoning district. What we're asking as a applicant is to be able to have minor repairs along with the sale of the automobiles. We've worked very closely with the city staff, and they have come up with a very good ordinance and a very good description of a new category, which truly says what is going on here. And they truly put restrictions in there to safeguard the well-being of the community and of that particular zoning district. This particular zoning district goes from 135th Street on Biscayne Boulevard, on the west side of Biscayne Boulevard, all the way down to about the Whole Foods. And it goes west to 16th Avenue, excluding the Johnson Wales master planned area. So it's a very small area that would be affected by this text amendment. It's already a commercially zoned area. What we're asking is that, or what we're presenting, is Volvo of North Miami, which is currently located in Miami Gardens. They're going to relocate to the city of North Miami, or they wish to relocate to the city of North Miami, into a building that is known in the neighborhood as the former Wells Fargo building at 125th Street and Biscayne Boulevard. It is a 45 to 50-year-old building, and Volvo of North Miami plans to spend millions and millions of dollars to repurpose this aging building. Instead of having a bank on the bottom floor with 4 drive-thrus, they're going to have an interior showroom. They're going to have an interior service department for minor repairs. And you may ask, what is minor repairs? Minor repairs are changing your wiper blades, changing oil, rotating the tires. It does not include heavy-duty work such as body shop repair, major motor repair. That will be done off-site at another location that they have available to them. If you've had the opportunity to go to the Lexus dealership or any of the new modern automobile showrooms, the service departments, and we have a picture over here that shows how clean and professional, and you can almost eat off the floor of those of the service departments because they are so pristine. They're not the grease monkey type of garages that you may have encountered of the years past. So Volvo in North Miami is asking for you to allow this minor text amendment. We have had the opportunity to speak to the community groups because it's very important. We've spoken to and informed the North Miami Chamber of Commerce, answered any questions and concern that they had. We had no negative feedback from them. They never did take a position. We attended the San Souci homeowners meeting. We informed them, answered questions. They actually passed a resolution supporting the text amendment. We attended the Keystone Point homeowners meeting and tried to answer any questions or concerns that those residents had. I attended the NOMI Neighborhood Association meeting and informed them of what was going on and was enthusiastically receptive to what we were doing. So we've made our rounds to deal with members of the community, outreach, which should be expected of every applicant. Any concerns that any residents or individual businesses had, we addressed head on. We attended the Planning Commission, and I'm very proud to say that it was a very spirited commission meeting. Lots of members of the public were here and spoke. We were able to address the concerns that members of the public had. And I'm very proud to say that we had a 6-0 vote in favor of making the recommendation to you all to approve this text amendment. Some of the concerns that were addressed at the commission meeting was, how do you stop somebody from test driving in my neighborhood? We explained what the restrictions were, but we went even further as an applicant. We said that no employee of the Volvo of North Miami will take a driver into the gated communities that were concerned whatsoever, and we put a restriction and a covenant to go along with the recommendation at the urging of the Deputy City Attorney who made that recommendation. We addressed the hours of deliveries of vehicles. But again, that's not what we're here tonight. We're here just to get permission to even get to the point to open this auto showroom. Volvo USA is making a massive relaunch in the United States, and Fernando will address those issues. Then I have a couple other small comments to make, Mr. Mayor, before you all open up to public discussion. And then, of course, any questions or concerns that you all may have, we look forward to answering that for you. Fernando?
Thank you very much, Kevin. My name is Fernando Relano, 20920 30th Place, Aventura. I'm representing Volvo of North Miami and Bragg Holding. I'm very proud to be here. Thank you very much for your time, gentlemen and mom. What we are bringing to the city of North Miami is a very, very important project for Volvo USA. One of the key cities identified by Volvo in the United States is Miami. They're gonna address and powerfully develop the brand in 3 cities in the United States, and one of these is gonna be Miami. And the place which Mr. Kevin Burns suggested, because we have an offer on North Miami Beach to do this project, was North Miami. What we're bringing to the city? We're bringing to the city a $30 million revenue a year project. This is gonna give us 40 new working positions inside of the operation. We're gonna be more than glad to open these working positions to people from North Miami to work with the city to address this matter. We can give also priority to this. And in terms of volume, we are looking for an operation that cannot be compared with Lexus, for a Ford dealership. Always remember, we were speaking about outside with one of the gentlemen that was asking about the volumes of the operations. This is a 0.3 market share brand. So this means that we are doing something between 35 to 50 cars a month. So it's a very slow moving. This is the reason why we are working with this kind of boutique style. This is gonna be a boutique style, minimalistic, Sweden boutique. And the other thing that we understood that we would like to seriously work with the community and with the city in terms of giving an open space. On the first floor, in the showroom, we're gonna have the chance to have this coffee open to the community. We strongly believe that we are working with the current owners of the building in order to give a better place, a better shape of the building, and what was currently done on that building, that it was an improvement of the last 4 years of $6 million. We're gonna do a further improvement with this, let me say, showroom and operation that we are presenting here. So mainly the reason why I'm introducing myself, I always saying that we would like to give a face to the project. So my name is Fernando. I'm open to whomever wants to address a question on this matter. I'm pretty sure that this is going to give and help on this project of the city of moving ahead. What you're having in your hands is the current situation and pictures and the current pictures of what you have today there. So what's the current status of the project and of the building and of the corner that we are addressing. And what we are showing to you is what we are thinking to do in the coming months. This is a project that is not sole mia, okay? That you have been spoken or speaking about it for the last 5 years, and we are very glad to understand that we are moving forward. This is a project that if we have your support, in the coming months, we start moving forward with the construction, and we're looking forward again to be in operations within 1 year. Thank you very much.
The packet that we handed to you shows, as Fernando says, some of the existing pictures that were just taken a few days ago of what that street, what that neighborhood looks like, what the current building parking garage looks like. As you can see, the third rendering over there, if they have it on the camera, will show the parking garage with a whole new facelift. The parking garage will be enclosed. There won't be noise coming from there. It is going to be a state-of-the-art, something that North Miami is going to be very proud of. It's not very often that I get up and recommend a project as strongly as I am for this. It's at the entrance to my neighborhood, but more importantly, it's in my city. I'm not going to bring something to this city that's going to embarrass myself, the elected officials, or the community, or a detriment. We did a traffic study that shows that this proposed auto showroom creates almost 900 road trips less than what can currently go back in there if another bank went into that site. So 800 to 900 less traffic count in that intersection. Hopefully we are the catalyst to renew that portion of Biscayne Boulevard. I know we're very excited about Sola Mia, but Sola Mia is only 200 acres of North Miami. We have a downtown, we have the rest of Biscayne Boulevard, we have 7th Avenue, we have West Dixie Highway. As we bring up Sola Mia, we have to bring up the rest of the city. I've heard the mayor and I've heard the newly elected council members say that North Miami needs to be on the move. We've done countless studies, some when I was there, sitting in your position, and years and years of downtown redevelopment, major road corridors. We've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on studies to say, how do we get a big corporation to come spend millions of dollars into North Miami? Folks, we have a big corporation who's going to spend millions of dollars coming to North Miami and will make you proud. No impact on city services, just on your bottom line. And I believe that it will help be a catalyst for the redevelopment of North Miami and to move this city forward. And again, if there's any questions that the members of the public have or that the council members have, we look forward to answering any concerns that you may have. Thank you very much.
All right, public hearing is now open. Any more staff presentation? No? No?
No.
Public hearing?
Yes, again, good evening. William Prevotel, 11950 North Bay Shore Drive, and a member of the Planning Commission. And I just wanted to elaborate a little bit on the meeting that we had when we reviewed this particular project. I'd like to say that I'm on record historically of not being in favor of car dealerships and having North Miami become the city of car dealerships, one right after the other. The image of used car dealerships and cars sprawled all out all over the place and then coming onto the grass embankments and encroaching everywhere. Not in favor of that at all. So why did the Planning Commission vote 6-0 on supporting this? It really, in my mind, wasn't exactly about just the car dealership. There were a number of factors. One factor is that this car dealership will certainly have less traffic than the alternative of having a bank going into that same location. There'll be a lot less congestion right there, and the difficulties that we had when Wachovia and Wells Fargo were there. In addition to that, they have promised that they will not be putting cars all around the outside, that this will be a contained environment, a more aesthetically pleasing environment. It will be an upgrade to even any of the car dealerships that we currently have in our area. So it's more of a corporate presence and a high image than it is a used car dealership operation. In addition to that, there's another factor that it was revealed that they had purchased a majority stake in the overall office building there. And I think that's kind of important. If you had if you had no majority interest, you would have like a condo situation and you'd have to go through votes, and you may or may not be able to raise money to make improvements to a property. It's often the case in condos, and things get neglected and it's very difficult to get a consensus. On the other hand, if you have an owner that has a majority stake, particularly if they're very, very concerned about their identity and their presence, that they don't want to drop the ball, and they're now in charge of this building and the aesthetics that environment that is created at their location, I think that's a very powerful tool to convince us to say we have a better chance with this than most other operations. There were many other factors that came into it that gave it a positive bias. We have a lot of assurance in terms of what type of things that they would or would not leave out, and other how they would use the site and get in and out of the building. It was satisfactorily answered, and therefore we have a very supportive vote. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Carol Prager, 2509 Northeast 135th Street. Lived in this city now some 52 years. Carol gave a speech the other afternoon at Solamia where she stated that she'd seen the city at its best and the city at its worst. And I've had that experience as well. Biscayne Boulevard is a main corridor. It's probably the main corridor in North Miami. When Miami-Dade County is spoken about, Biscayne Boulevard is spoken in almost every major municipality in Miami-Dade County. It's a very important corridor. When Johnson & Wales first came to North Miami, there was great fear about what the impact of Johnson & Wales was going to be in that area. And it turned out to be one of the best things that ever happened in North Miami. When Home Depot was proposed to be built in North Miami, there was great fear about the impact of Home Depot, and those fears never came to pass. This is a world-class brand. They have made a major investment, not only in the dealership that they purchased, but in that building. And if what they are proposing to do is translated, it's going to elevate the businesses that are in that building. Mr. Mayor, you always have been saying since the day you've been elected that North Miami is on the move. Well, we have to show something for that. That shouldn't just be a motto. That shouldn't just be rhetoric. We should actually see something translated with that. I think this is a great opportunity. When I raised concerns about the Fiat dealership, when Fiat first came, I loved it. I still love it. It's a great little addition on that corner. I did, however, have concerns about what was going on in the swales. When I discussed those concerns with these gentlemen, they immediately corrected it and pledged that that certain problem would not exist again, and I would take them at their word. We need to do something concrete. We have a history And Scott, at one time over the years, had said that it was unfortunate that NOMI at one time meant that no was in the name of North Miami, the city of no. Well, we can't be the city of no anymore. And as I said to the Planning Commission that evening, before we do the customary no in this city, I implore you to explore every possibility of yes, because I do truly believe that this will be a great addition to the city. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council, and welcome to our new member. A salesman's job is to get you to see things his way. A good salesman is confident and convincing, and my friend Kevin Burns is a good salesman. But if Volvo tells you the sky is green, it doesn't make it so. And if Kevin tells you this isn't rezoning, that doesn't make it true. The definition retail showroom automobile is essentially a rewording of vehicle sales and displays, a prohibited use, and the addition of vehicle service, another prohibited use. Automobile sales are not allowed in the district. The Fiat dealer down the street was slid in by a previous and ethically challenged council. We can't perpetuate bad acts and bad laws. The text change is to take prohibited activities, rename them, and permit their use. In business, we call that perfuming the pig. This is rezoning, and it affects the entire length of Biscayne Boulevard's west side. We get to become another 441. There's much to be concerned about. The definition itself. The definition of the staff report differs from the one in the proposed ordinance. The ordinance allows for half of the inventory to be used cars. Volvo's claim is their intent is to make this a flagship concept to relaunch the Volvo brand. But it appears the flagship is 50-50 a used car lot. In the definition, they also promise to only service cars sold by this dealership. Really? Who monitors that? Further and importantly, the City of North Miami land development regulations. They're referenced in the staff analysis, but the standards for text amendments to LDRs, and for city-initiated zoning map changes. The council goes on to say, the Planning Commission shall not recommend adoption, and the City Council shall not adopt text amendment to these LDRs unless the change, B, does not permit uses the comprehensive land use plan prohibits. There's a claim in section 2 of the staff analysis that the future land use development or designation for this property is commercial and office, which supposedly makes this whole thing okay. Unfortunately, the actual designation is Community Facility University. And I'm sure that an automobile showroom can't fit into that designation. Somebody didn't do their homework. Additionally, section D, the amendment will not cause a decline in the level of service for public infrastructure. The staff analysis cites a traffic assessment provided by Volvo. This traffic assessment is a simple trip generation study about two theoretical businesses, a bank and a car dealer. With Volvo's permission, we submitted the report to an expert on traffic impact analysis. I have his resume with me, and it is extensive. His conclusion was that no decision should be made on the appropriateness of this project based upon this report. An actual traffic impact study is needed. Hard to check off that box. Additionally, there are differing views on whether there's adequate parking for the project at all. I expressed concerns about the test drives through Keystone Point and San Souci. Volvo has promised that these test drives will only be on Biscayne Boulevard. The only thing you can test on Biscayne are the brakes. So what's the penalty for test drives through residential neighborhoods? I'll wrap it up. This project has a lot of holes in it, and nothing seems as it is. I urge you to reject the proposed zoning, and I think you must, based on the non-compliance with North Miami land development regulations. Thank you.
Public hearing is still open.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, City Manager. My name is Howard Tonkin, 12600 Griffin Boulevard. This project is a perfect project for our city. The building is sitting there, as to refer to the last speaker, the pig with perfume on it or whatever. The pig is sitting there and everybody has to look at it, and all the empty buildings down Biscayne Boulevard. It's an ugly city building. It's an ugly old building. The responsible thing to do environmentally is to refurbish an old building and make it sustainable. This is a good thing for our city. If I drive up 125th Street, I see for lease, for lease, for lease. Our city needs this. We need the right development in the right place. If people are worried about traffic on Biscayne Boulevard, they should move to the country, because it's a busy street. It's going to be a busy street. This has nothing to do with a car dealership on 441. This is more akin to a showroom on Park Avenue. It's a kind of thing that can make our city cool. We have a Whole Foods. We used to have a Starbucks. We can have a Volvo dealership. These are the right things to do. This is the complete opposite to the debacle of putting a Walmart big box store in the wrong place. This is the right development in the right place, and it's a good thing for our city. I used to bank at that Wells Fargo and look at that ugly street and think, wow, I'm across the street from Keystone, but there is an unmade road with potholes all over it and this dumpy looking bank. This can be beautiful. This is like a gateway to our city. We should embrace this right away and go for this project. We want to be the city on the move. If we don't move on this project, we're going to be the same old stagnating thing that everyone says, oh, North Miami. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Laura Hill, 13075 Griffin Boulevard. When I left my tranquil life at home about 8 months ago to start participating in North Miami city politics and neighborhood building, it was because I read this little byline in Nomi News that said Walmart was going to come to my neighborhood. And I'm not against development as a whole, but of course when you bring the lowest grade business to our community, I think we can do better. This is a different type of program, or different type of development. This is Volvo. It's a great brand. This is the kind of stuff that we want to encourage to come to our city, to ask us if they can come to our city. We don't need to accept the lowest brands here. We're better than that. If we say no to Volvo and this development, we're essentially saying don't come to North Miami because we won't even give you a little break when it comes to changing your windshield wipers. Is that what we're saying? We're saying you have to fit 100% into our outdated codes or else you can't come. How are we going to rebuild our downtown if we're not willing to work with businesses that are desirable to come here? Volvo is more like Whole Foods. Walmart is, well, it's Walmart. We want Volvo, we want Whole Foods, we want clean downtown, vibrant businesses. We want people from Miami coming to North Miami. But we have to say yes to smart development, not just no when we don't, for any one person. We deserve good world-renowned brands, and this is one, so I say we accept it and we allow the change. Thank you.
Eileen Prevotel, 12000 North Bay Shore Drive. I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed that we haven't had more progress in this city. I don't see that anything has changed, and our comprehensive plan is not offering us anything that we didn't have for all these years past. There's no stars, there's no imagination. I think that this is a good project, and I think that it's funny that something that is that terrific takes this much attention when you have Wendy's and Burger King and every fast food place that you can think of, and also these strip malls. I don't know where this city is going to go, but it certainly isn't going to be progressive. Thank you.
I arrived here with one ambition: to oppose this particular idea. But now that I've heard it completely, I am no longer in opposition. Thank you.
Louise Poe, 12913 Exora Circle. Good evening and congratulations to the newest member.
Thank you.
In the beginning, I was opposed to this also, but I see a lot of benefits to it, so long as it's done right. And in page 6, number 10 that you have in your packet, I'm concerned with that one. We were promised the loading and unloading. It does say restricted, but it does not say anything about not unloading or loading on 126th Street. They said that they promised they would load or unload on 16th Avenue. I see that they can unload anywhere within 250 feet. So I would like to see that restriction fixed. Thank you.
Public hearing is not closed. Members of the council?
May I, Mr. Mayor?
I didn't know if the presentation was done, I'm sorry.
Just a point of information. One of the speakers said that this was a rezoning. I'm sure if you ask your city attorney and your city staff, that they will tell you this is just a text amendment. Luckily, as times change, the statutes and the ordinances give you the ability, as time needs and things change, to make small amendments to your codes. The zoning is already commercial. It's already there, but I don't need to explain that. Your city attorney wouldn't have us here before you tonight if this wasn't proper and if it was not a text amendment. Just wanted to point out that. If you all have any questions, feel free to ask us. Thank you.
Madam Attorney, can you elaborate on that?
With respect to, it's not a rezoning, it's a text amendment. The commercial use is provided, and through special exception, we would be allowing a retail showroom, which is allowed under the code.
Mr. Mayor? I'm excited about what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing, but I have a few questions. Does tonight's text amendment approval, if it should pass, does that eliminate the need for a future traffic study for the potential Volvo dealership?
No, it doesn't eliminate the need for a future traffic study.
So if, because I have a question about the current tenants of the building, and this may be something the applicant has to answer. There are tenants already in the building. If the Volvo dealership comes in, I heard they purchased a majority stake, et cetera, but what happens to all of those X number of tenants? Do we have any idea what the occupancy rate of that building is? You know, how does that all change, if at all? And then if we do want a traffic study done by a nonpartisan source, is that something we can come back and address at a future point? I guess through you to Mr. Burns.
From our understanding, first of all, the people who own the office condos there will continue to own their office condos. The tenants that are in there will continue to be tenants as long as they have leases there. So the tenant mix and the ownership mix is not going to change. The only thing that's going to happen is that Volvo of North Miami is going to own 60% of the office spaces that they are going to continue to develop and rent out to businesses. They will have the complete use of the bottom floor of the building. When we make it, tonight is just a text amendment to even allow this. If it passes tonight and then comes back for second reading on June 23rd, I believe, then they'll be able to go forward with the application to the Board of Adjustments for approval through your special exception. From our understanding at that time is the city's traffic engineers at our cost will do a traffic study and make the recommendations or whatever they find necessary to the Board of Adjustments to grant the special exception. So, Mr. Councilman, there's a long process ahead, a long approval process ahead. Tonight, we just want to be permitted to have service, basically, in this particular zoning right now. But they have to come back with the layout, the entrance, the egress, the time of deliveries, all the nuances that you would expect, and that would go before the Board of Adjustments. Tonight is just to merely even have the permission to move to second base.
All right, here's a question then. What about the tenant that is Wells Fargo? Are they leaving?
They left already. They went
Oh, that's
into,
right, they
yes.
blocked the door.
Um,
So right now, that's all vacant.
It's vacant right now. The only tenant in there right now on the bottom floor happens to be Johnson & Wales, who we have a great partnership with, and that we've been in constant communication, and they're relocating to another portion, another floor in that building. And we have to get condo approval from some of the other unit owners, and with the design review and all the nice stuff that's going to happen. But that's not where we're at tonight. Right now, with this text amendment, is to allow to have the auto showroom with service within that zoning district.
Yeah, I did get an email from Johnson & Wales saying that they have no objection to this project.
Very
so-
good. Very good.
All right, that's all the questions I had, really.
Mr. Mayor, I have just a few questions. Mr. Mayor. My question to you, Mr. Burns, Mayor Burns. Well, I like the component, the fact that you have an outreach component to this, which I do think every proposal item that comes here that involves public and, the public at least needs to have an outreach component, which is good. I know that you guys are a private partnership, but what is the for say, as far as is there something that Volvo has in terms of a preference for folks who live in North Miami? As far as, are they going to hire folks from old dealership, or is there a preference? Or I don't know if you or the owner could answer that. Is there a preference for residents here in North Miami? I do like the project. In fact, I want to find out when you're going to have some for 7th Avenue.
We're working on that. That's a very good question. I could answer it, but I'm going to let Fernando answer it on behalf of the ownership.
Thank you very much. I think it's very important that if we give the chance to people living in the city as a first chance, okay? So please remember that we are staying in 441. We keep the operation in 441. So the current team that is in place in 441, 80% of that team is going to stay there. So just an only 20%, so this means the management team, they're coming to North Miami. So we need to fulfill the other part of the 40 people, that we are 80% that they're going to be, that we're going to need on this operation. So the idea to open this recruitment on the city is something that we already did with Johnson & Wales some years ago. And it really worked very well. So we think that if we can have people, young people, or people from the city working with us, we're going to be more than happy. And we are more than open to do this process with the city of North Miami. Thank you. Be welcome.
I have some comments.
Go ahead.
As most people know, I don't think any of us made any representations that we spoke to people. This is quasi-judicial item, so I think we should have made some disclosures. Is that correct?
No, it's not a
Not
quasi-judicial.
quasi?
No.
Okay, fine. I didn't, okay. I'm a little concerned with the legality of the actual ordinance that we've passed. Number one, our LDRs say that a council shall not adopt a text amendment if the change that we're allowing is not permitted in the comprehensive land future, in the future zoning map. This use is not permitted. So I'm wondering why staff says it's permitted when it's not. So I'm a little concerned with that. When we did our comprehensive plan, our planners, our professional planners, set out a specific zoning classification for the Biscayne Boulevard area outside of Keystone Point, Sans Souci. They called it C2BE and C2PW. And the purpose of that was to enhance the high quality of commercial areas in the city. I know there's a lot of people out here, but car lots, we just keep getting more car lots. Debatable. Volvo is a good car lot, but what we're getting ready to do this evening is not just allow Volvo, it's allowing a change on the entire strip of Biscayne Boulevard. So while Volvo is great, I would love to see Volvo here. I'm also concerned what this is opening the door for in our city. Service stations are not quality. That's why they don't put them in C2B. That's why they put them in commercial, and that's why they put them in industrial. I don't think putting a service station outside the entrance of Keystone Point is a quality commercial use. And if you while you're there, if you want to answer, it says that you will not adopt a text amendment unless the text amendment does not permit the use, does not permit uses the comprehensive land use plan prohibits. Our comprehensive plan prohibits vehicle displays and service stations. So how are we doing that as a text amendment?
Well, just to clarify, the comprehensive plan doesn't prohibit the use, vehicle
The
display,
future
and
land
service.
use map in the comprehensive plan does not allow for that.
The comprehensive plan actually just has a designation called commercial. So the designation is permitted as a commercial use. So
And
that's the first response.
Okay, and this particular property is not commercial, it is a community facility.
And again, Madam Councilwoman, it's not an actual rezoning, so it's not property specific.
But it's a text amendment,
If
and
I
it
can
says you
explain
can't do
the difference between the two. In terms of the application that was filed, the request is for a text amendment to the C2BW district. It is district-wide, it's not specific to a lot. The district itself, in terms of the use designation, is commercial. That's consistent with what the comprehensive plan allows. So what the request tonight would allow for is to establish a use that currently doesn't exist in our zoning code. The zoning code is specific about vehicle sales and service, and it defines it as the sales and the actual display for outdoor display. So it doesn't fit any definition in our code today, and I'm sure Madam Attorney can weigh in on that. There is no hybrid in our code that allows for complete indoor display of motor vehicles with a minor service component. It doesn't exist. So what this instrument would allow tonight is for an opportunity to introduce or establish a use that currently the code is silent on. If that use is established, it's established by a special exception. I think someone asked before, is there then a requirement for a traffic study or parking? Certainly through the special exception process then is when you start to barrel down on the specific site if that applicant comes forward at a future stage asking for that property itself to be established for the Volvo dealership. So you have a third tier also with the DRC process requiring for in-depth review from the different disciplines throughout the city. So there are actually 3 bites at the apple, and this is the first. Really, if they don't get past the first bite, then bite 2 and 3 are moot.
Okay, I understand that. We also prohibit vehicle service is not permitted in the future land in the comprehensive plan.
In the LDR, there's a difference. Your LDR implements your comprehensive plan. So the comprehensive plan is broad-based, and it just says the city can allow commercial use as a designation in this entire area. Now, your LDRs currently will define what that use is. The LDR tells you vehicle save and service is defined as et cetera. It tells you for retail automobiles, you're allowed to have 20 vehicles displayed on the exterior, which is why Fiat was allowed. In this case, this hybrid that says you can have an auto showroom that's totally internal, really that use exists nowhere else but Coral Gables right now, I can tell you, in the South Florida area. I understand that it's a flagship and a new concept for Volvo, and it really would be the first introduced for Volvo in Miami-Dade County. North Miami pretty much is the breaking ground for that. Doesn't exist in your LDR currently.
I still don't believe that the service station is allowed or proper use there. Let me go further because.
And if I can clarify, it's not a service station is what they're proposing. It says retail auto showroom, just so we're clear in terms of the request that was made.
I believe it does.
They're not
include.
asking for a service station.
Yes, they are. They are, Tanya. An
As an
on-site facility for
incidental
minor
use.
vehicle service.
It's incidental to the primary use. The primary use that they're asking for is retail auto
but-
showroom.
And on-site facilities for minor vehicle.
Correct, as a complement to the primary use.
But it's still there.
It's a complement, it's accessory, it
But that's-
supports, but
that's-
it's not the request.
But it is
Just
there.
to clarify.
Okay, let me keep going, because I have more issues. Your ordinance says that these this is maybe for the applicant, your on-site facilities for minor servicing of vehicles previously sold or leased by the rental automobile showroom. So are you saying that the only service that is gonna take place in this service station be for only the cars that you have sold?
Do you want to respond to that?